This is the Qtv Nightly News, which is also on Q Radio 103.3 FM, and I am Jacqueline Coley. Thank you for joining us. Here are the headlines. The National Human Rights Commission and the Women's Association for Women and Victims Empowerment, WAVE, on Friday held a follow-up parliamentary engagement on the Gambia's ratification of the optional protocol to the Convention Against Torture. A recent World Bank report warns of an urgent and growing threat to Banjul, highlighting the risks that large portions of the nation's capital could become submerged by 2050 due to the impact of rising sea levels and climate change. As drivers continue to express concerns over rising fuel prices, commuters have also voiced frustration about the conduct of some drivers who have increased transport fares without adhering to government regulations. Having heard from taxi drivers earlier in the week, we engaged commuters for their perspectives. The community of Sutukonding in Wuli, Upper River Region, held a 3-day cultural food and kankurang festival celebrating culture and traditional rituals while promoting healing and reintegration for returned migrants. And in sports news, the Gambia government defeated Ajib Bank 3-2 in an exciting friendly football match played at the QCD football field on Friday, which brought together government officials and the private sector in a competitive yet fun field affair. Those were the headlines. Now the news in detail. The National Human Rights Commission and the Women's Association for Women and Victims Empowerment, WAVE, on Friday held a follow-up parliamentary engagement on the Gambia's ratification of the optional protocol to the Convention Against Torture. Yafa Tugay tells us more.
The meeting aims to strengthen the role of the National Assembly in supporting the ratification of OPCAT and the creation of an effective National Preventive Mechanism, NPM, to help prevent torture and ill treatment in detention centers across the country. Mariam J. Cisse, Head of Operations at WAVE Gambia, and Matilda Mendy, Deputy Executive Secretary at NHRC, discussed why ratifying OPCAT is important for strengthening democratic governance and protecting human rights in the country.
The ratification of the OPCAT represents an important next step in ensuring that torture prevention moves beyond legal prohibition towards practical and institutional prevention measures through independent monitoring of places of detention.
Given this context, this meeting is not only timely, or this dialogue, should I say, is not only timely, but necessary in ensuring that the country moves towards fulfilling its international human rights obligations.
The Gambia has already taken important steps to improve human rights protection, including ratifying the Convention Against Torture and passing the Prevention and Prohibition of Torture Act in 2023. Key milestones in the country's transformational justice process and democratic reforms. Despite this progress, the Gambia has not yet ratified OPCAT, an international agreement designed to prevent torture through regular and independent monitoring of prisons and detention facilities. The Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions, representing the Solicitor General, further elaborated on OPCAT's potential impact if fully implemented in the country.
Across the African continent, a growing number of states have ratified OPCAT and established preventive mechanisms adapted to their specific national context. These experiences offer valuable insights, demonstrating both the tangible benefits of preventive monitoring and the practical challenges that must be addressed, particularly in relation to capacity, coordination, and resource constraints.
Swaibu Ture represented the National Assembly.
Because prevention is the key word here. You don't allow torture to happen and then you react. But how do you prevent it? I think that is very important.
As October 2025, 95 countries have already ratified OPCAT, and an additional 11 states have signed but yet to ratify the protocol. This engagement is another important step in the Gambia's ongoing efforts to strengthen human rights protection and democratic governance. Stakeholders emphasized that ratifying OPCAT and establishing a national preventive mechanism would not only help prevent torture and ill treatment, but also promote transparency, accountability and respect for the rule of law. Reporting for QTV News, this is Yafatu Gay.
A recent World Bank report warns of an urgent and growing threat to Banjul, highlighting the risk that large portions of the nation's capital could become submerged by 2050 due to a rise in sea levels and climate change impacts. The report, part of the Gambia country's climate and development analysis, underscores the country's vulnerability as a low-lying coastal nation and calls for immediate coordinated action. Loliam Kamara has the details.
The Gambia ranks 151 out of 181 countries on a climate risk index, which highlights its vulnerability and the challenges it faces in adapting to climate change. With increasing coastal erosion, flooding and extreme weather events already affecting livelihoods, infrastructure and ecosystems, the finding serves as a critical wake-up call for policymakers, stakeholders and communities alike. The report emphasizes the need for strengthening the climate resilience strategies, sustainable urban planning and investment in proactive infrastructure to safeguard Banjul and other at-risk areas. Scientists warn that Banjul faces a serious and escalating threat from rising sea levels and other climate-related factors which could lead to severe flooding and significant land loss by the end of the century. Alarmingly, projections indicate that parts of the city may begin to experience flooding as early as 2050. This puts more than 200,000 residents at risk, along with an estimated $2.1 billion in assets, an amount roughly equivalent to the country's entire GDP. Environment Minister Rohijon Manjang emphasizes the urgent need for immediate and coordinated action to address the growing climate threat facing Banjul.
If no action is taken, just a few meters sea level rise is going to submerge 50% of our capital, if not more. So meaning, for me, I now saying, looking at the way the climate impact is aggravating, if you do not do anything, no action is taken here to 2030, we will lose, or even closer to that, we will lose the entire Banjul. And then that's scary, but it's saying if no action is taken.
Experts stress that the effects are already being felt on the ground. Flooding is becoming more frequent and intense, while shorter rainy seasons are placing increasing pressure on farmers and disrupting food production. At the same time, coastal erosion is advancing and saltwater intrusion is contaminating freshwater sources. Minister Manjang continues to underline the urgency of responding to these escalating challenges.
The data has been given to you, and I don't want to scare us, but we have the time, we have the leverage, we have the report, we have the resources, we have the political will, and we have the partner support to deliver actions and timely actions. 13% here to 2050 is a lot from our GDP. 9% from here to 2040 is a lot from our GDP. But not to scare us. It is saying if no action is taken.
The report urges immediate investment in coastal protection measures such as mangrove restoration, alongside long-term strategies including the relocation of critical infrastructure and the development of more resilient inland cities. Officials warn that urgent action is needed to safeguard Banjul, the nation's capital and economic heart, along with the lives and livelihoods of its people. For QTV News, Lolly M. Kamara.
As drivers continue to express concerns over rising fuel prices, commuters have also voiced frustration about the conduct of some drivers who have increased transport fares without adhering to government regulations. Yafa Tugay engaged commuters for their perspective on the ongoing situation.
Some short distance, they should minimize the price so that people understand. We know economically when fuel is up in every country, transportation is going to be difficult.
Last month, the government introduced fuel subsidies aimed at cushioning the impact of rising global oil prices driven by international tensions, particularly in the Middle East. In April alone, over $316 million was spent to maintain pump prices at $98 per litre for petrol and $95 per diesel, despite significantly higher market rates. However, the situation deteriorated in May as new fuel prices were announced. Petrol rose to $112 per litre, gas oil increased to $120, and jet fuel climbed to $133.72 per litre. Combined subsidies for April and May have now exceeded $500 million. Officials, however, caution that this level of financial support is not sustainable in the long term. For many Gambians, the main concern remains the impact of the fare increases on daily life. Following the April fuel price adjustment, transport fares were officially increased by $5. However, after the latest increase in fuel prices, no new official fare structure has been announced. Despite this, many commuters report that some drivers have already begun charging higher fares independently, creating confusion and frustration among passengers. This has raised concerns about consistency in enforcement and compliance with government regulations. As citizens continue to grapple with rising transport and living costs, Soriba Karagbo, a commuter, said drivers should be more considerate in their response to rising fuel prices.
So what the driver did, like if you are taking from Senegambia to traffic light, but you are not going traffic light direct, the moment you pass the runabout, like the moment you pass turntable, the runabout, anywhere you are down, anywhere you come down, you are going to pay the same $30.
Aisatu Nyang and Modungom, both commuters, also shared their views on the country's transportation challenges.
I
understand fuel prices are rising, but drivers should wait for the government to approve fare increases instead of setting their own prices. We are all affected.
Things are getting out of hand. The government needs to step in. Drivers should not increase fares whenever they want. They should follow the official tariff.
As global tensions, particularly in the Middle East, continue to push fuel prices upward, concerns are growing that transport costs may remain volatile if clear regulatory measures are not enforced. Reporting for QTV News, this is Yafatige.
We will now go for a commercial break. When we return, we have more national, international, and sports news stories. So stay tuned. Welcome back, and this is QTV News, and I am Jacqueline Coley. Now, the community of Sutukonding in Wuli Upper River region held a 3-day cultural food and kankurang festival celebrating culture and traditional rituals while promoting healing and reintegration for returned migrants. The festival was supported by the International Organization for Migration, IOM. Umudu Gajaga reports.
A show of cultural heritage manifested in food and popular Mandinka masquerade, the Kankurang, were on display at this annual festival. According to the IOM, they are supporting Sutukonding to rebuild social bonds, strengthen returnees' resilience, and mental well-being. Hamza Sise is the reintegration assistant with the IOM.
Ladies and gentlemen, this activity is rooted in a shared understanding that reintegration is not only about livelihood or material assistance, but also about social belonging, emotional healing, and community acceptance. In our societies, communal rituals and celebrations play a vital role. In affirming shared identity, restoring relationships, and strengthening the social fabric that binds communities together.
Irregular migration has been both a social and humanitarian challenge in the Gambia for decades. Thousands of youths embark on a dangerous journey to Europe, locally known as the back way. Over the years, many have perished in the journey while seeking supposedly greener pastures in Europe. The IOM has been supporting the voluntary return of those in need and their reintegration. Mamadou Saliu Jallo, a representative of Sutukonding community, says the support from the EU through the IOM came at the right time. IOM supported this event because it is the youths who embarked on this irregular migration journey, referred to as the back way. So the communities should create a pathway for them so that they can have opportunities. Mahamadou Cisse, chairman of the Basse Area Council, was pleased with the vibrant display of cultural performances and traditional foods. Culture brings people together to strengthen unity, promote diversity and cohesion. In cultural events like this, you cannot distinguish tribe or ethnicity. Everyone is the same. The Sutukonding Cultural Food and Kankurang Festival 2026 highlighted how culture and community engagement can promote positive change by discouraging unsafe migration, raising awareness about its dangers, and encouraging youths to take advantage of local opportunities for employment and entrepreneurship. Mamadou Gajaga, Qtv News.
The Journalism Students Association of the University of the Gambia celebrated its annual Founders Day this week, bringing together veteran journalists, alumni, media professionals and students to discuss the future of journalism and the importance of peaceful advocacy ahead of this year's elections in the Gambia. More in this report. Held at the School of Journalism and Digital Media, the event is considered the association's most prestigious annual gathering and serves as a platform to honor the legacy of journalism in the country while inspiring the next generation of media practitioners. This year's theme focuses on the growing threat of misinformation, disinformation, and irresponsible reporting in an increasingly digital media space. Speakers at the event emphasized the need for ethical, accurate, and independent journalism, noting that responsible reporting remains critical in protecting democracy and promoting peace, particularly during election periods. Here is Alex K. Mane, president of the Journalism Student Association.
Of course, we are citizens of this country and we are aware that we need ethical journalists. And now that we are working towards election, what is our role? That being said, we debated and we all agreed on one thing, that we must run with this team. And of course, the team is addressing the current issues happening in the Gambia as we are working towards the election.
The celebration featured a keynote address, followed by a panel discussion on the media's role in promoting peaceful elections. Lamin B. Barra also emphasized the growing concerns around misinformation and disinformation in today's digital media environment.
If you are well equipped in digital skills, you will be able to figure out what is a deep feed, what is an AI photo, an AI-generated photo. But if journalists are sharing AI-generated photos on their platforms, that means there's a lack in skills.
Nana Gray Johnson, the Dean of the School of Journalism and Digital Media, shared how the Journalism and Digital Media School was founded.
There was a VC in this school, in this university, named Professor Mohamedou Oka. This school is about his dream, not Mr. Gray Johnson. It was he who called me out of my consultancies to Brikama. And I was wondering why the Vice Chancellor of the University of the Gambia was calling me. I was a busy consultant. And he said to me, we must have a school of journalism. And then, he being a digital media expert, sat down with me and said, but it cannot just be a school of journalism. And when we arrived at and digital media, then the vision clicked.
Organizers say the event reaffirmed the importance of credible journalism in shaping informed societies and promoting national unity. Reporting for Qtv News, I am Jacqueline Coley. Coming up next is sports news. The Gambia government defeated Adib Bank 3-2 in an exciting friendly football match played at the Q City football field on Friday, which brought together government officials and the private sector in a competitive yet fun-filled affair. Our sports reporter Mahmoud Gajaga saw the exciting action and he now reports.
A match organized for fun to strengthen relations and promote government-private sector relationships ended up with an impressive show of skills, beautiful goals, the re-emergence of footballing prowess that had long been dormant. A team featuring senior government officials, including ministers, permanent secretaries, and directors, stunned Ajib Bank with 2 goals in the 7th and 9th minutes of the game. One of the goals scored by Ali Ulum, Chief of Staff, who would go on to score the winning goal when he came on after coming in as a substitute. This is how he reacted to his man-of-the-match performance, which he got for his 2 goals.
From today, I think I would encourage the sport minister to encourage having some of these kind of activities, because I think it is good for uniting people.
The most exciting parts of the game, especially for spectators, were those occasions when, due to lack of conditioning, some players found it almost impossible to keep up with the pace of the game. The chairman of the Q group, Mohamed Jah, an accomplished footballer who was previously going to coach the Ajib team but ended up captaining the side, had some moments of brilliance, nearly troubling the goalkeeper with this free kick. Afterwards, he said his excitement of the friendly.
Yeah, we are actually surprised, but they went and brought some Premier League players, some of them playing in the Champions League like Dr. Cisse. It was not fair, we have not played for so long, but it was a nice big match. It was a nice match, and the most exciting thing is one Gambia.
Other players who showed glimpses of their active playing days were Sidi Keita, Minister of Finance, Dr. Ismaila Cisse, the Minister of Information and Broadcasting Services, and Bakari Waibaji, Youth and Sports Minister, who captained the government team, playing as a central defender. They all shared their feelings of having taken part in this game.
Well, it's fun. It has been many years since we touched the ball. So to have this type of engagement with the private sector, it really brings back very good memories.
Well, it's just a persistent training. I think that keeps you fit. Football is all about fitness, because it's a physical game. Once you are fit and you have some little bit of skills, you can manage.
They did give us at the beginning, because our team was not intact, at the beginning. But of course, later on when we had our players, we had to bring in our own people. And of course, you saw all the 3 goals were scored by our own people.
The government team was coached by Babukar Boy, Minister of Public Services, assisted by Demba Sabali, the Minister of Agriculture. As a retired footballer who played for Walidan in the Gambia's first division, Minister Boy shared some of his coaching tactics.
The plan was to make sure that we seal the defense and secure the midfield. Of course, when you don't have enough stamina, you let the ball run and not do the running.
I'm very, very impressed. Actually, our team, surprisingly, they did better than we even expected. We are much older, but apparently we are still fitter.
Despite losing the game, Ajib Bank put up a spirited performance, even after going behind twice to level before eventually conceding a late goal. Fatou Cisse, Ajib Bank's Chief Finance Officer, spoke on behalf of the Managing Director.
This was an interesting game. Although we wish we won, but they did better than us. So I think they need to buy it.
The friendly game between the government and Ajib Bank was organized as part of efforts to strengthen the relationship between government and the private sector for national development. And from the players and spectators, the aim appeared to have been achieved. Mamudu Gajaga, QTV News.
That's all for this bulletin. Join us tomorrow at 8 p.m. for the Weekend Review with Mahmoud Mboj and Ade Darame. Thanks for watching.